Hi everyone, today I want to share with you the Portrait Revolution book, and it is from the artist of Julia Kay's Portrait Party, edited by Julia Kay. So it is a collection of different artists and it's super inspiring. So it says here, inspiration, tips and techniques for creating portraits. So if you're interested in learning how to paint portraits, or perhaps getting some inspiration in for different mediums, etc., this is the book for you. So let's start by looking into the book. So the first page here is super inspiring. As you can see, loads of color, really beautiful. Not sure who this is by, as it doesn't say here, but loads of things going on. Very interesting perspective. It's like from the bird's view, and the people kind of go around it like that. So it's some sort of dinner scene, and you can see the position of the people. It's more kind of figure rather than portrait, but let's move on. So the contents. We have portraits by media. So here, this is quite fun because there are different medias that are used. So colored pencils, charcoal, ballpoint pen, markers, digital drawing, crayons, chalk, pastel, oil pastel, water-soluble pencils and crayons, watercolor, gouache, acrylic paint, oil paint, digital painting, traditional printmaking, digital printmaking, collage, mixed traditional and digital media, needle arts and unusual media. Now there are a couple of those at the end which actually were new to me, so we'll look at them in a minute. Then we have portraits by style. So you have realism, abstract, monochrome, limited color, cool tones, warm tones, etc, etc. So that's quite interesting. Portraits by theme. So babies, double portraits, portraits within portraits, animal companions, musicians, artists, etc, etc. There's also on location and indoors, on location outdoors, telling a story, so loads. And then featured artist and on making portraits. So let's have a look. So the layout of this book is basically a lot of imagery and a little bit of writing, which is great. So it would double as a coffee table book as well as a learning book. And let's have a look. So about Julia Kay's Portrait Party, so you can learn about the artist herself. And then this is where it starts. Portraits by media. And there's a pencil. Let me just do a flip through. So digital painting, oil, gouache, watercolor, and oil pastels, etc, etc. And then at the end I wanted to show you those unusual things. So for example, this one here, collage. So you can make portraits out of collages. So that's not very unusual. We know about collages, but still quite inspiring. And then here we have mixed traditional and digital media. So what that probably is, for example, you could take a photocopy of a person, of a person's photo, and you could start drawing on top and creating different layers, for example with pencils and then with acrylics, and that would make it mixing traditional and digital media. So let's have a look. Water mixable oil paint with digital enhancement using Photoshop on a PC. So this looks like possibly using art supplies and then photocopying it and maybe using a Photoshop to bump up the colors or something like that. So it's going that direction. And then here we have drawn in charcoal pencil on Canson drawing paper, then scanned and digitally overpainted using Autodesk Sketchbook Pro on a Mac. So it's actually the other way around. So using art supplies first, like the first one, and then using digital art on top rather than what I just said. So that's something I wouldn't have thought of, but interesting. And there is usually an artist for every kind of chapter that represents that type of work. So needle art, this is quite unusual for me, because I have never thought of, you know, needle like embroidery or things like that to be used for portraits art. And obviously you can use your sewing machine, you can do it by hand, whichever way you want to do it, but it's really beautiful. So here is a quilted piece, and it's just so original, and it's so interesting. So different pieces of fabric to create shadows and lines and all of that, and I think that's just gorgeous. Really beautiful piece of work. And then unusual media. Now this is obviously something quite unusual indeed. So, you know, there's a portrait out of stones, one kind of drawn out on a highlighting a road map, and then there's some snow, and then sketching on pebbles. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's look at this one, Portraits by Style. I really like the fact that the chapters are separated into styles as well as media. So if I'm, for example, feeling inspired and I want to work with watercolor or acrylics or whatever it would be, I could find it by the chapter separation. And also styles, that's also quite useful. So here we have realism, we've got abstract. There is a large number of different styles included, and this is what makes this book super inspiring, because it's not just one specific style or a few that we commonly would be aware of, but no, it's got loads of things that I haven't seen before, and that's what makes you curious. That's what makes you want to flip to the next page and find out more and read a little bit about the artist, etc., etc. So it's really, really fun. And so just to give you a little flip through, if you like color, you'll find something. If you like simple lines, you'll find something. Quite literally, it is impossible not to find a style that would speak to you. If you like this sort of dramatic, dark style, you could also find something for yourself there. Portraits by theme. So this is, if you're interested in babies, there are different styles you could express that. Double portraits, so with more people in there, and with animals as well. And then these are kind of musicians, so people that are making music, and sort of there's a sense of movement there with the music instruments. Artists at work, so this is quite interesting, capturing different artists as they are creating art. And then we have featured artists. So the people that you saw the work from before, this is a nice little kind of composition of a few of their works. So for example, this one is really, really cool, and I started googling his work to see more of it because it's so interesting. It's this artist Samar Al-Zaidi, and yeah, really beautiful. But he creates his work, so this is created digitally. This one is pencil, pastel and acrylic paint on paper, and this is watercolor, ink, pen, pastel, etc. So this one is also iPad. And then a couple of other artists and their styles. Sometimes it's easier to see one artist and a few of their works, just to see what the style is, and as well as whether they kind of dip out of that specific style. So for example, this is quite different here. These are similar, these are very different, and you can see that the person or the artist experimenting. Here's some white ink lines to just highlight a little bit of lines and separation. So just will give you a little flip through here. So on making portraits, I think this is the last chapter, and it's quite useful to read through this. Why make portraits? So it says here, I keep doing portraits because they are a huge challenge. I'm always trying to go beyond the face and a likeness to the expressions and the emotion behind it. So it's interesting to see the perspective of why. And then there's tracing and seeing and drawing. So this part is more kind of reading if you are keen to learn. But other than that, it's a really great collection of portrait pieces, and I feel that there is a huge variety here in one book. And what I like particularly is that it's concentrating, the majority of the book is concentrating on the art, and with a little bit of writing just to give you the needed information, but that's basically it. So I hope you enjoyed this flip through. As always, the link to this book will be added down below if you're interested to purchase it, and that would help to support my channel. So thank you so much for watching, and see you soon.